Hi there. Um, I'm carrying on here. It's Lou Martin. This is my 11 o'clock live stream. And between myself and my iPhone and my dear friend Brenda Garcia in California, I did a live stream on Tuesday, and it's been seen by about 800 people. And I've done a live stream last night, and it was seen by about 400 people. So, gosh, if I'm not very encouraged that there's a lovely audience out there for what I have to talk about between my, my comments on the news of the world, the news of the day, and my channeling. And so, what I try to do here, if you've seen my videos, and you can see the last few on my Facebook page, there's a video library there. Is put things in a context of the spiritual studies that I've been practicing for about the last 30 years, since 1987, when I had a Kundalini awakening in meditation, and started working with the spirit guides, the channeled entities. The most important one for me being Lazarus, and yeah, there's Veronica, Lisa. Hi guys. And for the last 30 years, studying with spirits and spirit guides in channeled material. So today's big news, obviously, is the UK pulling out of the EU, which has taken everyone by surprise. I haven't really followed it that closely, honestly. Being an expat American living in Ireland, it hasn't been a huge focus for me. So I'm sort of been catching up on it today. And David Icke, one of my trusted inspirations and truth tellers out there, is hugely in favor of it. And so I'll just I put that link. He's got about a half an hour video on I put that on my page, and basically, if you're familiar with David Icke or you're not familiar with his perception of things, the New World Order, has been this agenda. Just a thumbnail sketch here of what most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. The New World Order has been this agenda that's been more and more put into place, by the wealthy and the powerful of the world, basically, over the last many decades, and it stretches back throughout our history, according to David, and he cites a lot of great evidence to demonstrate that. The point here is not to feel powerless or feel victimized. The point is to become empowered. So anyway, David feels that this exit of the UK from the EU is a great striking a blow for liberty, and is a great cause for celebration, because part of the New World Order, one of its expressions has been what's called the UN Agenda 21, and which was also created decades ago. I believe it's even been updated. They've changed the name to some other agenda. But basically, the idea has been, again, here, real simple version, that we're going to centralize power politically on the planet in the hands of fewer and fewer people. And one of the ways we're going to do this is by creating these unions, the European Union, a Pacific Union, a North American Union. We're going to, erase the borders between Mexico and the U.S. and Canada and create a union out of that. We're going to, this kind of thing. And clearly that's what's been happening on one level here for quite a long time. So like Dorrit and I, my friend from Portland, she was reminding me, not from Seattle, thank you, Dorrit, we're chatting about all this today, and she was saying that, when she came and visited me here in Ireland, or she's just been back to Denmark, where she was born over the summer for a visit, and she was saying, that she sees in Europe that, since we've joined the EU, that the individual farms here in Ireland, for example, the privatization of things. You know what I'm saying here, the corporatization, the privatization, the centralization, there's the word, of the how we live our life has become more and more um, you know uh, centralized, yeah. And so by Britain managing to vote itself out of the EU, and I've just read that there are four other countries that are ready to follow suit. They don't all come to mind at the moment, but it seems to be the story that just like the Bernie Sanders campaign in the U.S. and many other things, the riots, my goodness, that have been happening in France that get absolutely no media coverage anywhere, for the labor riots there and the student riots and protests that have been happening for the last 2 months, maybe now at this point. I'm not sure, but for quite a while, with great intensity. This whole movement of freedom, of self-realization, of sovereignty, of people finding their voice, of people taking, their power back, et cetera, et cetera. This is another. This seems to be another expression of that. And David Icke has also said, now that the UK has started to step outside of the totalitarian tiptoe, as he calls it, the plans for everyone, as David Bowie once sang, to get us all dependent, basically, on the government and cooperating with the governments, and that we have less personal freedoms and less rights and less sovereignty, etc. And things are run by fewer and fewer people with greater and greater removal of personal rights and freedoms and all that. Now that these things are starting to happen, that we're starting to move in the opposite direction. This is the clash of the paradigms that my guides have been talking about here, and that I've said this week once again that this is what the summer is all about. So the Brexit vote today is just another example of that. Okay, so that's that for the moment. I also want to say I've seen a couple of Bernie Sanders' speeches that he's given over the last 24 hours, which are also quite relevant to what I'm saying here, what we're talking about, which is that he's shifted into another gear now. That before he was being very, polite and political and diplomatic. And over the last two speeches that he's just given in New York City and in Syracuse, New York, wow, he's really come out with the gloves off and all guns blazing, and really passionately expressing what it is that he wants to help create. And honestly, at this point, getting or not getting the nomination just seems like an afterthought. And if you haven't seen either of these speeches, I think I've put them both on my page. They're both worth seeing. The audiences, I want to tell you, at both of these speeches are absolutely, raising the roof at what he has to say about ending fracking, stopping TPP, building affordable housing, repairing the infrastructure, getting people out of jail, decriminalizing, ending the war on drugs, one thing after another that, as he said a year ago when he started the campaign, everyone thought this was all so radical. And after, his campaigning for a year here, he's, I think won millions of people in the States over to the understanding that that these are not radical ideas, that these ideas really need to happen in order for the planet to survive climate change and a few other challenges. All right, so there's the political and there's the spiritual, which is the energies of truth, and the energies of speaking truth to power, and the energies of compassion and integrity and honesty. And I've spoken about Sirius and the influence of our spirit guides and our higher selves. I just want to kind of get some of that into this conversation here before I get lost in the politics of things, which is that, this is a time when we're really redefining who we are. And this is what I've been also seeing in my sessions with people and my conversations with friends, etc. We're all really digging deep inside of ourselves these days to get as clear as possible, as my guides would say to me, what we believe, how deeply we believe it, and if it's true for us right now. And what I want to say is that having a meditation practice, working as a channel, having the time and space in my life to research these things and write about these things all day long, for me, these are the absolute tools of survival in the world as I experience it, my friends, that I have the things that I need and love, and the people that I need and love to work with, and that we can support each other. So here I just want to say again, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to connect with you in this way and share some of these thoughts with you. I will read all your texts. I may not read them while I'm giving my little chat here, so my apologies to you for that. I may take some time and come back and look at them again after I'm done here. I also saw that last night I was actually, there seems to be no time limit on this Facebook feed, which is extremely tempting for someone like me. So last night I was able to be here for half an hour, which was lovely. So I'm taking it, one day at a time, one step at a time with everything. But it's incredible that after being in my room here working on online and doing sessions with people and working on a book with my partner Arancha in Spain and all this, that I've connected with like 1,000 people in a few days. And again, my dear friend Brenda Garcia has been instrumental in that happening. So shout out to her again. All right. So we're all experiencing these huge changes. We're all looking for, as my guides say, how to listen to, trust, and follow our inner guidance. I just want to kind of go through some spiritual hygiene and practices and some suggestions here that can be helpful. My guides say basically that peace is when we've come to truth about something. And if we're upset, if we're confused, if we're anxious, if we're fearful, we're in the illusion of separation in those moments. If I want something or need something and I feel that it's outside of myself, then I start to experience that separation, and I try to figure my way and work my way and will my way towards having or doing or being what I want. We all understand that. We've done that for many lifetimes. That's where we, live. What is happening now as the higher self, the soul, the spirit, parts of ourself, because of our openness, because of our receptivity, because of our willingness, as my guides say, we never assert ourselves, spirit never asserts itself upon us. So those parts of ourself are becoming more available to us because we're really sincerely, which means with heart, we are sincerely asking for spirit to guide us, to inspire us, to help us. So whatever we can do, in our lives on a daily basis, to find peace. And the four states that Abraham talks about is love, joy, appreciation, and gratitude. Yeah, I think that's, or it's my guides, one or the other. Anyway, I love you. I'm grateful for you. I appreciate you. You bring me joy. I'm just using these terms here in a very general sense. But whatever we do that opens our hearts, prayerfully to affirm that, to express that, to say that to ourselves, to say that into the mirror, to put our hands on our heart, to say those things. It's so simple, but it will really steady the mind. It will really open the heart, and it will really bring us back to peace. Okay. So what I was getting here was I was getting ready to jump on here tonight, is that all these changes that are happening in the outer world, the UK leaving the EU, and how will that affect Ireland, and how will that, et cetera, the economy and the stock market and all this. We really truly do have an influence on how that shows up in our life, and this is the whole point about all of us learning to take our power back. So in the old way of thinking, to be powerful is to, to have power over, right? The masculine definition of power. And in the new way of thinking, the feminine, of course, is to be with and to create intimacy and to create, actually, the word my guides like is affinity, AFFINITY, to feel a sense of oneness. So when you're with your clients or friends or family members and they're struggling with something or worried about something, or if you are struggling or worried about something, if you can find that focus in yourself, as I was just saying, to come back to peace or to love, joy, appreciation, or gratitude, right? Then you're going to say, "Oh, this is going to work out. There's something good here, or I will understand this, or I will make sense of this, or we'll get through this, etc., etc." Sorry, anything that points our mind in the direction of a positive emotion or a positive belief is going to begin to raise the vibration, you see, and take us out of the drama. I saw a client today, and she was, really working on that. She's very experienced with her spiritual journey, but she'd let it go for a while because she didn't find enough support in her life to really, stay on her path completely. So she was kind of, good enough to come to me to help me offer some suggestions and give her some encouragement and inspire her, and it was great because between myself and the spirit guides that I work with, that always happens. That's a great gift that I've been given. So when and I know for myself, when I can stay out of my own way, if I can relax about it, if I can laugh about it, if I can offer it up, yeah, then I don't feel like I'm alone. I don't feel like I have to figure it out. To move out of the space where I feel like I'm wrong or I'm bad or I've done something wrong or bad, to forgive, to accept, to have compassion, to trust, any of those things, they all open the heart. So I want to encourage all of us here, we're very experienced, I'm sure many of us on this journey at this point. Try to keep understanding that these intense energies that we're experiencing astrologically, politically, socially, economically, etc., they really are just little mirrors, in every moment of what we believe. Life is easy, okay. Life is a struggle, okay. How deeply we believe it. Well, I'd like to believe that life could be good for me, okay. I'd like to believe that I could start over again today with a much higher vibration. Okay, how deeply, and if it's true for us right now. And so I'm saying again, we know that something is true for us right now if we're not arguing about it, if we're not struggling over it, if we're not saying, oh, I wish that were true. I wish that could be true. Why is it true for everyone else and not for me? You see, all of that's basically the mind and the ego and comparing and competing and all of that. If I know that something is true, if I have the faith to believe it, then I'm willing to listen to, trust, and follow my heart. We quiet the mind, we open the heart, and our heart brings us back to spirit. And one more time, spirit is absolute and unconditional. So it doesn't need to interfere with us. It doesn't need to assert itself upon us. It wants only to meet us as an equal. And to the degree that we're open and receptive to believing, trusting, and following our inner guidance, to that degree, spirit begins to push into our lives, you see. It's, I was mentioning affinity before, the other word is intimacy, which I love the little poem, "Into Me You See," right? So these big changes are happening in the outer world, but we have to keep, bringing that back to ourselves in the current time and space and make meaning of that. So I just want to say again, in the crucible and the fires of this summer, the fires of purification, basically, keep consciously breathing. Keep slowing yourself down if you find yourself needing to come back to yourself or to integrate or to come back to peace. And, as you get better at paying attention to how you're feeling and how your thoughts are guiding you to feel, you'll become, you have the greatest gift of a spiritual practice, which I believe this is from Course in Miracles, which is you'll have peace of mind. you won't always know what the solution to every situation is, and you won't always be centered because you're human, but you will start to have that sense of affinity with your higher self within you, and that sense of intimacy, that the answers are within me, that into me I see. If I need something, I can go within. If I have a request, I can turn within. If I can practice these qualities of love, joy, appreciation, gratitude, my heart will open and inspiration will flow through me again. Inspiration is the voice of spirit, is how my guides put it. So it's to understand that while these huge, and they really are, I mean, there's just so much more to come, there's no doubt about it, these huge planetary changes are happening in the world. All of us that are on the spiritual path are going to be, worked with and tuned and tested a little bit. We test ourselves. I believe spirit doesn't test us. But we're going to keep, make our, crooked path up the mountain so that, at the end of the day, when we lay our head on the pillow, my friends, we feel good about ourselves. We feel good about our lives. We feel good about our choices. And we feel good about our relationship to the world. And the world is going to need a lot of compassion, my friends, because for people that have not learned any of these resources in their lives or in themselves, and for people who, life is just more of the past, expecting it to be projected into the future, that future is not there any longer. That future has been moved out of the way now. And, we literally are entering the energies of this new earth. And, you can see it in every area of your life. So the gift of that is, humility brings us into the present moment, right? True power, all true powerful beings are truly humble. And you see this in the Native Americans. You see this in all the indigenous cultures. You see this in all the great spiritual teachers. That to be sincerely looking for your power is to be very respectful of yourself, of life, of one another, and to keep looking within for greater clarity about, how spirit wants you to live your life. Okay, so higher self, we all have that. That's the future self of who we're becoming, that is consciously connected to source, to spirit, to God, goddess, all that is. This is what my teacher Lazarus has been teaching me for 30 years. And we also have, of course, an eternal soul, which is accessible through our heart. It's the feminine part of our spiritual self. It's the emotion, yeah. It's the depth of feeling. Yeah, Lazarus describes it as beautiful sadness or quiet joy. And when you focus on your soul focuses on you. And we have the spirit then, which is the masculine component, which is more through the mind. And that's the fire and the wind, rather than the earth and the water, which is the feminine. The fire and the wind, which is, the masculine will. To assert and express ourselves. So we have all these parts of us, and doesn't matter that we all agree where they come from or what the definitions are. That's not so important. I'm just giving you my understanding at the moment. But it's the message I really want to give here today is to really celebrate that we're here at this time, because the more we see impossible things happen, for me, from the States, the whole Bernie Sanders campaign and the political movement, it is absolutely the most exciting political moment of my life. There is no exaggeration about that. And to see people so passionate for justice and truth and equality and making the world a better place, it's, I could just fall to the ground and weep with joy. I'm so happy to see this happening. It's no exaggeration. And if that's anything like this, even though I know there's many ways to interpret it for what's beginning to happen in the EU, then that's also quite profound and a real turning point for human consciousness. So, stay inspired, do the things you can in your life. I'll give you a little pep talk here and then I'll channel for you. There's my buddy Aiden. Yeah, great to see you. Tim, hi, how nice. Wow. Okay, I'm in good company tonight, absolutely. Um, so I just want to say, while my friends are here, and I have this access to you all do great work. I pretty much know everyone who's gotten on here today, and I know you're all, walking a very powerful spiritual journey in this lifetime. And I feel like, there's no accident at all that we all know each other, that we've come into each other's lives, and that we have, some really powerful messages and ideas to share with the world. And so I want to say here again, if there's any way I can support you, if there's any way I can help you, if there's any way I can make your journey any easier, please don't hesitate to tell me, because I just want to say from my heart to yours, you have all supported me like family since the moment I came to this country. It's one of the reasons why I'm working so hard to stay here. I've fallen in love with the place and all the people I've met here. And to all my dear American friends and people around the world, this is a real cosmic moment. So, we're all reaching out for each other through time and space and through the internet and whatnot, and it's a very exciting time to be alive. So we're going to be greatly challenged and deeply inspired, and I think this is what we've all been working towards for many lifetimes. I have no doubt about that. So you know, keep your spirits up and enjoy what's happening here. Yeah, and thank you. And let's amaze ourselves. This is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll channel here. My guides say a couple little things here. Yeah, and there's Joanne. Hi, dear. When the great challenge in life, is to love ourselves. Right? It's what we come here to learn to do, and we take on the darkness of the world, basically the wound, right? And we lose ourselves, and we doubt ourselves, and we feel disconnected from our worth and things like this, and then we start projecting, our fears and our desires onto each other. And we think, we start blaming, and we start seeking, people to save us and all these kinds of things. All right, we all know all of that. I just put a quote up from the Dalai Lama. This is what I want to get to before I channel. The Dalai Lama says, of course, you can only love another if you learn to love yourself, and that's absolutely so important. To love ourselves is to respect our feelings, is to honor our needs and our wants, and it is to really have a spiritual dimension in our life. That's what I want to say here. The world has been very anti-spiritual, and we've all grown up with huge betrayal and disappointment from the church and from human beings and organizations and all this. Okay, we've gone through all of that, right? And all of that was necessary. This is a bit of Lazarus here. It was necessary so that we could come to a place in our consciousness where we would begin to really take our power back. And it's a whole new understanding of what power is. It's power, it's dominion, is Lazarus's term here, my teacher, which is to live in harmony and balance with ourselves, each other, and the earth. So this is the last thing I want to say about love and loving ourselves and being on the spiritual path. I think we all know that the earth is conscious, that the earth is a consciousness, that the earth is alive, yeah, that the earth is, our mother, yeah, it's not just a metaphor or an analogy, yeah, it's true. And so I want to offer that as a reminder as well, that while the planet and the climate and all these things are going so intensely, you can always connect with the power of the earth and your relationship to the earth, just like we can always connect with the power of spirit. But so these times now, in between the great turmoil and tumult of our lives, this is when we need to keep practicing this. You see, this is really what I'm wanting to do here with all these little chats with you, is share what I'm learning, share what's coming through me in the moment, connect to you, hear what you have to say, absolutely, and build this kind of collective energy here together. So The last thing I want to say is that 9 a.m. in the morning and 9 a.m. in the evening are times that I've picked here with Spirit's guidance to invite people to take 10 to 20 minutes to just tune in and get grounded in whatever way feels helpful for you. To pray, to meditate, love, joy, appreciation, gratitude, conscious breathing, connecting with Mother Earth, connecting with Spirit, sending our waves of Reiki, of love, of light, of peace out into the universe. You know, my friends, this is what we've been preparing for. So, you know, it's time to shine our light and share our love. Okay, let me channel for you. Yeah, that's a good place to stop, right? I'll do my commercial here real quickly before I channel, will I? Yeah, so I have an ebook. It's called The Invitation. And if you want to know about me and my channeling and how to work with my guides, etc., which I hope you do, you can go to loumartin.eu.